Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Arcantu here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and so excited to be back. I know we say that it's the fall season. I know it's technically, has not fully arrived yet, but because of back to school and, kind of it feels like summer closes out, when school starts, it does feel like fall. But if you're outside today, it feels sticky like summer for sure. It does not feel like fall yet. And this weather has definitely, you know, made us wonder. But it's a wonderful time of year, whether it's fall or summer, to be talking with Nadia Murdock, who is our guest today, who is the founder of Nadia Murdock Fit. And, we're going to talk about, again, something that is timeless, which is a positive self mindset, body confidence, and living a healthier life. And I know if you are someone who had to kind of get ready for back to school like I was, and Nadia and I were just talking about this before we went live for a moment, that craziness of kind of getting ready and the start, you kind of very quickly almost can lose yourself no matter, what kind of serenity you created over your summer
Mm,
months,
mm,
because of the schedule suddenly changing with all the activities
mhm,
and everything. So this is a perfect time for this conversation.
mhm.
Before we launch into it, I want to tell you a little bit more about Nadia, who is a friend to the YW. She was a instrumental part of our Women's Leadership Conference this March. She really helped us do a deep dive with all of our attendees, which was wonderful to have her there. But for those of you who don't know her, she is a dedicated mindset and movement coach and the visionary behind Nadia Murdock Fit. Through her transformative Love Yourself process, Nadia empowers women to elevate their self worth and embark on a profound journey of self discovery, both inside and out. Her mission is to guide you towards a place of genuine self compassion and empowerment. And so, with that, welcome, Nadia. So happy to be with you this morning.
Hi, Helen. Thank you so much for having me.
So, before we start, I thought it would be nice to share with our viewers some of the amazing testimonials that
Aw.
have come from past clients. They say that your energy and words have a way of making them feel at ease and understood. Your approach is something that everyone could benefit from. And not only do you help people identify underlying issues, but that you use tools and guidance to help change mindset. Also, it's been said that your holistic approach extends beyond mindset work and incorporates fitness and wellness into creating a harmonious balance for overall well being. And also, how your self knowledge, the knowledge that you have added a whole extra dimension to the folks that you work with in your sessions and reinforce really that connection between healthy mind and healthy body.
Yes.
So, let's start right there. I mean, there's so much, right in those testimonials from those that you worked for, which, by the way, I mean, that's amazing to know that that comes back from the work that you put in, with your clients. How did you find yourself in this space of this work that you're doing now? And how do you keep yourself, empowered to create this positive change for others? You've got a lot going on in your life too.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
how did
Yes.
you fit there?
I love that question, and thank you for sharing those testimonials. I tend to read those testimonials back to myself too, to remind myself of the impact that I'm making, because that is my goal, to make strong impact in this world and live a life of greatness. And that to me means changing people's lives for the better. And I fell into this because I was my first client, right? Like freshman 15 was freshman 30. And then I started questioning, who am I? Like, am I more than my body? Is my body the only thing I have to offer? Because then I ended up losing all that weight, but then I realized how much weight, figuratively speaking, I put into how I looked, and not really diving into my true self-worth, which is what I can give the world, which is besides my external physique. And so that became part of who I was. And I wanted to share that messaging with all the women that were coming into my fitness classes because I would hear how they would speak about themselves and it would be so jarring. And I know that culturally, misery loves company in a way, right? So if one woman complains about one body part, another person chimes in. And so they feel it's a sense of connection. But is it a sense of connection that serves you? Or is it only holding you back? And so I really wanted to change and reframe how women saw themselves, not only in my class, but outside of the class. And so that's really where it started. And it just, as I changed and as I evolved, so did my company and it continued to manifest into the program I have today.
Well, I love that you were your first client. I mean, that I think, shows all of us, right? That, you have to go through it and then you learn so much from that experience that you can share
100%.
from others. And I have to say, it's so easy to dwell on the negative, because we're tired.
Mhm.
We're overwhelmed. There's so much coming at us. And although, in this time that's kind of post COVID, the reality of it is we felt like this before COVID ever hit.
Oh, yes. Oh,
You
yes. And I think it's magnified, Helen, because we were all online. We couldn't leave our houses. And so everyone was just basically doing the same thing, and that's why I always say be very careful of the information you take in, whether it's the friends you keep, what you're looking on social, what you're watching, because that can affect how your internal thoughts manifest and how you live your life. So it's very important to be conscious of what you're taking in. So I created my Love Yourself process, which is a one-on-one coaching program, and it's for 6 months. And throughout the 6 months, I really help women learn to love themselves and their body without judgment, right? So we're not always going to love where we are in life or love our bodies at the same time, but it's important not to judge yourself wherever you are in your journey. And so through the program, it's like I said, it's 6 months because mindset work does take time. It's not an overnight process. And I think with each month and each session I have with my clients, they unravel that onion. They learn something new about themselves that has been either holding them back or playing a narrative in their head. And it's such a beautiful thing to witness the self discovery of who they are and who they want to be that maybe they didn't even realize before coming into coaching.
Well, and I'm sorry, I think I'm having a little Wi-Fi difficulty on my end, and I don't
Oh, I
know if
just kept talking.
coming through, but I appreciate everything that you're sharing. Can you talk a little bit about your Love Your Process one-to-one coaching sessions?
Yes. So as I was saying, it's a 6 month program. And in each month, we address certain topics, and they're all accompanied with two one-on-one coachings, right? And so what is the goal, right? What is your why? Why did you start the coaching? And so we really start there and define the hurdles that you need to overcome in order to reach your ultimate goal. We also observe what's been standing in your way. What is that big thing? And it's usually fear. So, fear tends to be the biggest thing, if not the most consistent reason why women come and start their process with me. So, in the 6 months, we address absolute self love, is the name of my program within the one on one coaching. And we observe what is the concept of self love. Many people think it's just getting a manicure or a pedicure, but it's so much deeper than that. It's literally dating yourself and really asking yourself, what do I want? What do I like? What have I told myself I don't like, which is actually what I really like. And I feel like sometimes if you're a people pleaser or, you really don't know yourself. And so you start to date yourself and start to begin what your wants are. You become more aware of mindfulness, um, connecting your mind and body is so important. Ignoring the signs, a headache or tight shoulders or aching back can manifest into something so much greater. So it's being your own health advocate and being mindful of what you feel inside your body, understanding your thoughts, because your thoughts become actions and those actions can either serve you or deter you. So we address that. We understand the importance of self-compassion. We all make mistakes. And if I'm dealing with a client who's a perfectionist, that self compassion does not come easy. So we
Mhm.
learn to understand that we're all human and what we see is not what is real, especially with social media. And then we talk about body image and acceptance, especially with women that are going through life changes. They may not like how their body looks now, but it's important to, and I've been there, it's important to accept your body for where it is and work towards you want instead of shaming or berating yourself and comparing yourself to others to be something that you're not. And then lastly, we focus on self love practice, becoming an everyday thing so that you can actually say you love yourself and mean it. I've had clients say they could never look in the mirror, and now they're able to look in the mirror and actually pose in photos where before they would hide. So it's a really beautiful journey that just continues to grow after our coaching.
Well, I so appreciate that because I think that the whole concept of self-love, as you so poignantly noted, is so much greater than a massage or a manicure, which is, I think, as a society, what we've like created this vision of girls night out, going
Yes.
fine with our friends, which actually sometimes can become you know actually dysfunctional also if it's
Yes.
like managed properly. And
Yep.
even some of the other ways of like shopping, or again, can end up having a negative downturn and create more anxiety and more issues for someone if they're not managed. So I really appreciate that you're looking at her at it at a much wider lens. And I also think you're talking about it in a way that is so important, because I think sometimes we feel like self-love and that time for ourselves feels too indulgent,
Mhm.
and we don't
Mhm.
have permission to spend that kind of time on ourselves, and
Mhm.
looked at negatively if we're focused on ourselves.
Mhm.
So it really is a different mindset of thinking, for sure.
It's necessary, Helen. And like, you're not the, I love that you said that because a lot of women find it so hard, especially if they're moms or if they're taking care of a parent or a family member to like take that time for themselves. It's almost like I can't, they constantly cancel on themselves. So one trick I say, if you're doing something for yourself, whether it's a yoga class or meeting with a girlfriend or going for a walk, put it in your calendar as an appointment you would commit to anything else, commit to that appointment to yourself. And it becomes a habit that therefore becomes a part of your life because it's not selfish. It is so necessary. And I know after each child, I've gone through this. And it's like, I've gone through the comparison. Like, I've got to be the best mom. I've got to find all these, I got to make all the food myself. I've got to do this class. I've got to go to and it's like, well, what's left? Where's me? And movement has always been a part of my life. It's such a huge part of my journey. And I found myself, especially after the pandemic with things being closed and shut down, I wasn't tapping into that anymore. And I could feel it. I could feel the anxious feelings. I could feel it in my body, not just how I look, but how I felt. And so that's where the mind and body connection comes in. Like, don't ignore those feelings. It's not just a bad day. That bad day could be a month, turns into years, and you lose yourself. But it doesn't mean you can't find yourself again.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that. And that is so hopeful because,
Yes.
I think that is one of the things that happens, I think, to all women, and, you know, differently for women, depending on if, when they're caregivers of whether it's children or older adults or, wherever, it really, it can feel so lonely, and it feels
Hmm.
so like you're in a hole. And so you do need to know that you can like come through those moments, for sure. And that it's so wonderful to know that the journey there really is just about connecting with yourself.
Yeah. And I try to like it's exciting. I feel like it's like another chapter, like, I was just speaking with a client and, she's in a job transition and she wants to stay where she is, but she's kind of exploring going to another city. And I was like, that's exciting. Whether you do it or not, the action of exploring that opportunity is going to grow you as a person, right? It's going to take you out of that fixed mindset. I need to be here and I need to do this. Because when you see the opportunity there, you'll see the opportunity in so many other parts of your life.
Yes, yes. That's so, so true. So I know, before we jump into talking about the fact that, as we all know, you are, sought after and are speaking at so many events, as you know, we're part of our event that we did in March.
Yeah.
Um, Before we get to that, now that we are in that back to school space, and there are so many of us that are feeling that, oh no, the schedules, the emails, the after school activities,
Yes.
the carpool, the pickup, um,
Oh, yes.
all of that. What are some kind of tips that you can share for anyone who's kind of feeling that, you know,
Yeah.
uh, that disruption of, to their harmony,
Yes.
to help get through these times?
So these are the same tips I'm currently telling myself with a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. Um, don't think of all of it at once, right? Don't think of all the birthday parties. Don't think of all the back to school nights. Don't think of all the sports. Just try to take it day by day or week by week. And the more you can plan your week out the same way you would for your business is the same way you should try to do it every Sunday night for your child's schedule, right? Look at the week ahead. Okay, I have to remember this goes in on the 14th. This goes in here. So that morning you're making breakfast, you're not like, oh my gosh, I forgot. And that's where the craze comes in. And then I've noticed too, because I dive in a little bit of gentle parenting as a parent, and that energy, everybody soaks it up, right? So now everybody's screaming and everybody's manic. And then, so not to say you're in charge of other people's emotions, but I always say, you want to be remembered for how you make people feel, right? And I always want to make my kids feel great or feel confident and myself, right? So being that impactful, creating that impact even in your home by being organized and thinking about things one by one. And also, hey, if you forget that form or if you forget to buy that gift, which I've done, it's okay. You can give the gift the next day at school. Don't make things bigger than it needs to be because you're only creating more anxiety within your space.
Yeah, that's such good advice. And it is so important to forgive ourselves too when there's a misstep, because
Yeah.
it is a lot. It's a lot to manage, for sure.
I would like to add, Helen, it's also a great teaching lesson too, because there was one time I forgot a birthday gift. And my son Max was like, Mama, you forgot the gift. And I was like, yes, Mama made a mistake. But guess what? We all make mistakes. Have you ever made a mistake? And it becomes a learning lesson and then it becomes a conversation. So if a mistake is made either by him, her, or whoever's in your home, there's an understanding, there's compassion. And I think that's so important.
Well, and that's such a great lesson, because I think as parents, we do sometimes feel like we have to be perfect, uh,
Yes.
and perfect is doesn't exist, for
Right.
sure.
Right. Exactly.
It's such a gift to give our children that,
Yeah.
understanding that there is no perfection.
Right. Because, my mom made a mistake. It's okay. Mistakes are normal and it becomes a normal thing, right? And then it's also I've heard parents start to say, I'm such a doofus or things like that in front of their kids. And I'm like, no, that's being absorbed. Just like how they watch how we do our hair or however we exercise, they're absorbing that too. So even if you need that motivator of how you speak to yourself, maybe your kid or your loved ones or your partner is that motivator for you to start treating yourself the way you want to be treated so that whoever you're around is absorbing that version of yourself.
That's wonderful. So I know that you and I are both very excited about an event that's coming very soon. just about a month from now, on October 21st, we have Let's Talk.
Let's talk.
It's all focused on women's wellness. And I know you and I were both part of the inaugural event last year, which could not have been more meaningful and impactful. And, what a gift that we are, coming back around again.
I
And you
know.
are showcased in that effort. So can you talk a little bit? Let's talk about some of the stuff that you have on the calendar upcoming, so that our viewers can. And I know that's one of the places.
Yes, so I'll start with the most immediate one, which is September 23rd. I'll be in Atlantic City for a women's conference with This Is It TV. It's a 3-day event in Atlantic City, all about empowering women, right? Scream Your Dream is what Sheldon Bartlett always talks about, and she's the founder of This Is It TV. And within those panel discussions, it's allowing women to tap into their true power, screaming their dream. My panel discussion will be all about mental health. And then I will also be leading a small meditation and a focus group on journaling, which is a pillar of my coaching and has really been transformative for a lot of my clients. Then following that, we meet again in October at NJPAC on October 21st for Let's Talk. It is, Helen, I was on a cloud for I think 2 weeks after, just that energy. It was such, everyone was there with a purpose to connect, to learn. And I think a lot of people realized they got so much more out of it. They felt supported, they felt heard, they learned stuff, they made friends, and it was just so great. So I will also be doing another breakout session for Let's Talk. It's called The Girlfriend's Guide to Journaling. Again, focusing on the mental health benefits and the growth mindset benefits of journaling. And that will be in one of their breakout session rooms.
Well, that's amazing. And yes, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that day was really like a big hug, all around, much needed. There were so many opportunities to connect with, such diverse women.
Yes.
And really see our common spaces, and at the same time really acknowledge where our lives are different.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of what we're talking about with mental health, Nadia, I mean, I just want to make sure that we put some space around this, because I know Let's Talk does that for this as well, is that these conversations, which are difficult for women for sure,
Mm-hmm.
a whole nother layer of challenges around the mental health piece, and what and managing some of these issues for women of color.
Mm-hmm.
The living experience is different, and so and how do you address that in terms of your work?
That's great. I think culturally too, I'm from Caribbean descent. My parents are from Jamaica. I'm firstborn American, and you don't talk growing up. We kind of talked about it, but not really. And so I think that I love that this conversation is becoming up more and more, and I think it needs to come up more and more. And I love that Let's Talk embraces such a beautiful array of faces so that people can learn from each other. I believe we're also having someone speak about transgender community and how that community is suffering in silence too, and afraid to speak. And can you imagine if you're in a community where you're of a different culture, where on top of that you're transgender, it's like you're double muffled, you know what I mean? So to come someplace where you can be yourself and dress how you want to dress and be who you want to be without judgment, which is what my coaching is about. The judgment. When you take the judgment away, it's like taking so many weights off your shoulder, right? Because I feel like that's the reason why a lot of people can't be who they want to be or say what they want to say with the fear of being judged. So to answer your question, yes, I love that Let's Talk is so progressive and getting ahead of it and really welcoming everyone and having such a beautiful, not only of different faces and cultures, but experiences. Economic professions, we have doctors, we have mindset people, we have yoga, we have sound bowl. This is great, and I think everyone's going to get to experience something that maybe they never heard of, or maybe they only saw and thought they couldn't do. So I think it's wonderful, because I think learning is a gateway to a growth mindset. And when you're constantly growing, you're living. So I love it.
Yes, yes, the ever evolving, and I think that is one of the great, you know, pieces to the work that's happening at Let's Talk, and also the other event that you're speaking at. I mean, I think that's what they're really all about, like,
Yes.
being your best self, and taking it, where you are each day, and then figuring out, where you can move it to. So
100%.
that's
Yes.
all good stuff. Nadia, it's always a pleasure to get some time with you, and I'm just, your refreshing outlook and your demeanor, really put a perspective for these conversations as well, which I am so grateful for. And, to our viewers, please stay connected to Nadia. We have scrolling across here for you, and in the comments, all the places that you can connect with her. And I encourage you to do that, because we just talked about two places where you can connect with some of the work that she's doing, but she will be and continues to be in so many spaces. And if you're following her social media and on her website, you will stay abreast of it, and hopefully get to join her and experience some of that in person. And I appreciate you also giving us an understanding of what that coaching experience is like, because I think sometimes people shy away from something like that because they feel
Mm-hmm.
it's not for them. um,
Mm-hmm.
and yet you explained it in a way that it's just so accessible and
Mm-hmm.
important, for us all to consider, um, you know, creating space in our lives for ourselves.
Yes. If
And
I could quickly add to that, Helen, I love that you said not for me, and I feel like you don't know what you don't know, so you should at least just try, right? So if you reach out to me and send me a message, I will send you a free 30-day guide to self-love, and it's not the regular stuff that we were talking about. It's stuff so much more than that that will really get your wheels turning and seeing how much more you can dive deeper into loving yourself and making it a regular practice.
that's wonderful. Thank you for offering that to our viewers and folks. I would take her up on that. Um, Look,
I'll
Nadia,
send it to you too, Helen.
yeah, thank you. I will take it. And to our viewers, we hope that this little moment that you've created for yourself, by hearing what Nadia has to say, kind of gave you a space to start to cultivate, a place for yourself. And we hope that you share what you've learned here with someone else in your life too. That's how YWTV works with, sharing the information. And we look forward to having more conversations with Nadia. As I said, she's a friend of the YW, so you'll be seeing her around with what we do. And I hope that you stay connected to her as well. Nadia, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always fun. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.